The program for today, we had our networking for half an hour, and we have two lightning talks. Lightning talks are the small presentations of 10 minutes. We do not dive into the subject, but we speak. We give only an overview, small overview of something, and we can discuss a little bit about it. And so the first lightning talk will be about new ES6 features. The second lightning talk will be done by Amin about the state of JavaScript trends. Current trends within JavaScript communities, and then we will have our presentation also by Amin about together. Start. ES6 features overview. So the subject is actually big, but I will just give a small overview about new features and only a subset of the features. So it is really just to give you a taste about what we will see in ES6, and so that to know more, of course, we have to see documentation online. Perhaps we can, after it has been released, perhaps we can do presentations. Sometimes, some of the features by themselves require a whole presentation. So it's really not, it's a big subject. Okay, official names for ES6. ES stands, of course, for ECMAScript. ECMAScript 262 is the standard for this scripting languages, and that are usually used in client applications, in web browsers. And it is implemented in JavaScript. It is implemented in, I think, TypeScript, or no. There is a scripting language of Microsoft, it's called TypeScript, yeah. And it is implemented in ActionScript, for example. So this is a standard. And this is the standard of JavaScript currently. And specifically, ES6 is called ESNext, or ECMA 262 edition 6. Publication is planned for June 2015. The feature set is frozen, so we will not see new features. They are mainly working now on fixing any issues or bugs in ES6. So the features that we will see now are the features, or the features that exist now are the features that will be available when it is released. We will not have any new features. And browsers are adding support at a steady pace. So we will see, actually, we can already use ES6 in some of the browsers. Not all functionality is implemented, but it is being implemented. There is no real order, I have taken the functionality. So the first thing I will talk about are arrow functions. Arrow functions bring, among other things, shorter syntax, which means that instead of writing, function name, parentheses, etc., we can write functions this way. An empty function can be written this way, parentheses. So the arrow function is this arrow. It is also called fat arrow. And this defines an empty function, which means it defines a function that doesn't receive any parameters and doesn't return anything. So this is like the parameter list of the function, and this is the body of the function. Here, for example, an identity function, which receives a parameter called x and returns that parameter. It can be written this way. It means function that receives x returns x. Here, an example of a function that returns the square of the parameter it receives, for example. And Here we have the case where a function should return an object literal. The difference is just that we need to put the object literal between parentheses. So this means we have a function called keymaker, which receives a parameter called val and returns the object literal with the key and the value val. I hope it is clear. And here, if you have a statement body, which means you don't have a simple, because here you have the cases where the function returns simple objects, simple. There is no statement body, there is no body, there is no if conditions, it is really a simple return. Then you just can write the return value directly as it is. But if we have a more complicated function with statements, then we have to use the curly braces for the body of the function. So this, for example, this defines a function that receives v as a parameter, and then this is the body of the function. Okay? Okay. Another specificity of the arrow functions is the lexical this, which means that this keyword, when it is used in arrow functions, it points, because generally or normally we have functional scopes, which means that scope changes in every function, and we have the same scope in a function. So which means that normally we have here an object. We define in the object a function. Inside this function, this points to this object, to the object in which the function is defined. But here, in the for each loop, we define a function which is anonymous. And in the anonymous function, this does not point to the object anymore. It has its own scope. So this points to the function itself, I think, or something like that. Yeah, function
parent context. The context to the function parent parents.
So this points to this function and doesn't point to the object. Right. If we use that function,
I think here it points to dash parents. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when we use the arrow function instead, this doesn't lose its context, and it still points to the object in which it is defined. Okay, so we don't need, normally if we use normal functions, we would have to either bind the anonymous function to this, or do some other work so that we can still point to this object.
Closure or bind. One of closure or bind.
Yeah, closure or bind. Yeah. Okay, so here this shows that this name really points to the name of the object. Classes, so we don't have classes normally in JavaScript. Now in the new version we will have classes. They still use prototypical inheritance, but it is just a syntactical thing. So it makes
Anna the class here.
not this way. We have
هذايا sugar syntax.
Yeah, but we have objects in JavaScript. We don't have classes in the real class.
نحكي على الديتاil de l'implémentation تاع class. So what we have now is just they use the exact same things, but they added a bit of layer of syntax.
Yeah, it's exactly
to make it look like classy thing. So
yeah, but
actually,
I don't know if they're called classes. What we have, they are objects.
I mean, you can create.
You can basically, this is prototypal inheritance.
Yeah, as I said, yeah, this is
exactly the same. So.
But okay, I would call everything object actually.
But you did the class. I don't make classes in JavaScript at all whatsoever. So I deal with objects. Je suis d'accord. But what we do in classes when program class like programming object-oriented, we call them actually classes.
Okay. Yeah, I call them constructor functions. That's why. Okay, that's why I said that we don't have classes. Perhaps it is just a matter of naming. Yeah. But this is now, I mean, a way of. This makes actually defining classes and inheritance easier than what we have now, because now currently in JavaScript you have to define a constructor function, then you have to bind the prototype from which you want to inherit, etc. So it is a little bit.
Which is inheritance. Inheritance is a mess.
Yeah, inheritance is not easy. And this syntax, this new syntax, makes implementing inheritance easy. So how this is enabled? I mean, it is enabled through the new syntax. So we use the keyword class to define our class, and we use the constructor keyword to define the constructor of this class for creating new instances.
Should have used the class name.
Sorry? Yeah, but they have decided that it should be called constructor.
Yeah.
And here we have the inheritance. So we use the keyword extends to define inheritance, and we have the keyword inside class we can use to function. Here, another thing are static functions. So like here, we use the keyword static to define the function, and then to call the function, we have to use the class name point function name. So it is like what we know from other object-oriented.
Just add it to the prototype.
Sorry?
Just like add a function to the prototype.
Yeah. It makes just easier to understand, perhaps.
More readable.
Sorry?
Readable code.
Yeah, more readable. Yeah. So template strings. Template strings are defined with the song graph. And we can define standard function, standard strings with them, as here, basically to a string. This is exactly as defining a normal string. But what we can also do is to define multi-line strings. Everybody knows that when we want to define multi-line strings now, we have to write strings plus or use backslash. And for the new line, you have to write the new line, etc. But here, you don't have to write the new line. When you write like this, your new line is preserved in the string. So this will create exactly this string. When you write this out, you have this line, new line, and the other line. So you don't have to write the new line character or manually. So this makes the code also more readable if you want to create multi-line. Always concatenate strings together with the new line character, etc. So just you write it as you want it to be constructed, and that's it.
Makes it easier to write to pre-tags also.
Yeah. It makes it easier to create. Generally, I don't know, creating HTML code, for example, or whatever, then it's easier with this. And we also have substitutions, which is also very helpful. So you can directly write using the syntax, insert variables, and this will be, hello, are you? Yeah, it is.
Just basic templating.
For example, like PHP, whatever, you can use variables inside of strings, and they are substituted. So Same thing.
So instead of closing the bracket, putting a
Adding
plus, putting the
variables.
name of the variable.
Close plus.
That's
Yeah.
That's always a mess.
And yeah, so this is what I have wrote about them, but template strings are much more
Rich.
powerful. I mean, can do really incredible things with that.
plus this is a real feature. The fact arrow function and plus syntax are not features. Are syntax sugar on top of the existing variable.
Arrow adds that lexical bit,
That's a
which is
feature. But this is the most important feature, I think.
destructuring.
No,
You mean
the
strings,
template,
yeah,
the
template
template.
string, yeah.
It's in terms of performance, basically.
Yeah.
Using strings.
Because I mean, it makes things much easier.
Mhm.
So destructuring. I mean, this is a way of getting an array or an object and taking parts of this object or of this array to affect them to local variables. So which means here, if we do this, var a be equal that array, then the result will be that our local variable a will have the value 1 and the variable b will have the value 3. So here we left this empty to say that we don't want to affect this value to any variable. So this way, you don't have to do a equals, suppose you have this array that is called z, then you don't have to do a equals z0. You just affect directly this array to z, and the variables get the different parts of the array affected. Same thing here about functions, about objects. Very important when your functions, for example, return objects. We have a function that returns an object, and you want to affect parts of the object to local variables. I have here a function that returns an object with two properties, name and age. So with this syntax, I get directly the name variable affected to my local variable name. So normally you would say var x equals about, and then if you want to access name, you would do x.name or x.age. So this way you can just directly take parts of the object or the array. And we can also use it for parameter position, which means this syntax says that when you get an object as a parameter, take the name property from that object and affect it to my local parameter x. So when I call the function and I pass an object where the name parameter is 5, here, this code would affect to x the value 5, and I can use that x in my function. So this way, I can have a function that receives an object and for the parameters, and I function with an object, and the parameter is not important anymore, because it will affect to the different parameters the values of the parameters by name and not by position. Okay? And here, this is just to show how it works if, for example, you do when you affect an empty value or so. In this case, we affect to an empty array, so A is undefined. It's not an error. There is no exception or so. And here we can also use a default value. So we say, do the destructuring and give to A the default value 1. So if there is no value to affect to it, it will get the value 1. Okay?
Seems useless to me.
Now, this is just to show that it is possible, but there are cases, for example, if you get a return value from function, and you want to make sure that if you don't get the value in a given position for a parameter, you won't have it. So it is like, instead of initializing and then testing, if I have value, you can just say default value is this, and if it doesn't get a value, it will use the default.
Yeah.
Here, default, rest, and spread for functions. We have this long-awaited default value for parameters, for function parameters. Normally, you would do, if not y, equals something or something to make sure parameters. Rest parameters is to replace the arguments that is not very nice to use, let's say. So in this case here, we can say that my function receives the parameter x, and then it can receive any number of parameters, and they will all be affected. They will all be put in an array that is affected to the parameter y. So this means, for example, if I call f3 hello true, then x is equal 3, and y is an array that contains the two values hello and true. And so you can access all the, if you have here 5 or 6 parameters, then x is the first parameter, and the 5 others will be put in an array that is affected to y. So you can access them through y. And spread is almost the opposite. Yeah, it's almost the opposite, which means that spread takes an array and let's see.
And spreads it over time.
So here it will pass each element of the array as an argument. So if we do f3 dots and then an array, it is like calling f1, 2, 3 as parameters. It's more like converting an array into a list of parameters. Let and const. This is for especially let for adding block scope binding, because now we have in JavaScript, as I said earlier, we have function scoped bindings, which means that normally when you define a variable in a function, then it is available in the whole function, even in sub-functions or whatever, and or in blocks also. While here with let, we can define block level or block scope binding. We can use block scope binding, which means that when you use let, then this x in the block, because we have an if block here, this x is different from this one. While normal case, when we use var, the x is the same in all blocks. So if I use const or let inside this block, this if block, then I have my own x in this context that does not override the x outside of the context. Okay, so if I change, I say const x or let x here, for example, and I change the value of x inside of this block, I don't touch the value of the x outside of the block. While in normal, if you use var, then you would actually change, if you touch or change the value of x inside of this block, it is the same x. Okay?
This will generate horrible code.
Yeah.
But it is more, no, it is.
There is a misconception that let will replace var.
No, it will.
But var is still useful
Still
when you have
available, yes.
to catch value within function.
We use var that has the same functionality as but this is new, so like block level variables, then you can use let. And with const, this is also new, it is to define constants, so you cannot change their values. I mean,
But
this
const is block level,
is block level also.
or
As far as I know,
function.
it's block level.
It's block.
Yeah.
So now it's block level.
It's
Yes.
block level, yeah.
So
So here
there is no
it
const.
should not be.
There is no const-like feature in functions code.
I don't know about
No, there is not. Sir.
I don't think const is block
There's
level.
something missing. So
Yeah, I don't think const is block level.
No,
Because
it's block level until
it's
it's a block
Really?
level.
block level, yeah.
Like I want to define a const and then use it in my blocks or
Hey,
Yeah,
in my
it's a block
Yeah.
level, but it's a block level.
yeah,
No, it's
it
block level,
would
which
be
you
better
can-
to have it like functional or global scope than block level.
No, but I mean, block level doesn't prevent you from defining
Yeah,
global
so
in the global.
Yeah.
I mean, you define something.
It will be inherited in other blocks
Yeah.
within that.
Block level means that if you define,
Yeah.
you can define another variable in a sub-block
Yeah.
with the same name without overriding the other one. That's.
But the
But
root,
it is still. I mean, if you don't say, if I remove this line, then this x still points to this one. But here it is not that define another x using const or using let. So here I have a new variable in this context.
Okay. Yeah.
What was that? يبين زي ما نقصت. Okay, that was too much. Okay, maps and sets. So we will have. This is a new feature. We can define a map. A map is, as we know, key value collection, and we have some helper functions, to check if a value is inside that map or not, delete it, etc. And we have the same thing here with sets. The difference between sets and arrays is that sets have unique values. So, for example, here, if I add 1, 2, 3, and 2, I will only have 1, 2, and 3 because 2 is already defined. You cannot have double values in a set.
I don't see the point of map. We have objects already.
Yeah, but here I think because you can use.
There is useful. Certainly, but map.
You can use any type of keys. You can use objects as keys. You can use not only strings.
Okay.
Okay. But perhaps I should have written about it, but yes.
But those are not maps.
No, weak maps are maps that weak maps are maps.
Okay. That loses reference to variable
if
when
They
garbage
have a
collected.
value that is not referenced anywhere else. And
It will be removed.
it will be garbage collected. For off is another way of looping or iterating over array values or set values of a set or the items of a map. It is just value of for variable of and the array, for example, and then just another
it's
way
like
for iterating.
it's like in but for arrays.
Yeah, but there is a difference for arrays and sets and maps. You can still use in
But it gives
on
you
maps, but
indexes.
it gives you something
Yeah.
else. Yeah.
On arrays, it gives you indexes. Not
Yes.
values. حاجة نادمة.
Right. Yeah, it gives you values. Yes. And on maps, it will.
So is there performance benefits with map?
I don't know. To be honest, I didn't really see anything about it. Rapidly enhanced object literals here for defining an object. This is a new way of rapidly setting the prototype of an object. Here, this is shorthand for handler, 2-point handler. So if a variable has the same name, you want to affect it. A variable of the same name, you just write it here.
Nice.
And here we have access to superclass, another way of defining functions. You don't have to say to string, 2-point, function, etc. So it is just
The overloading. You're actually overloading the function to string. Kind of.
which yes, or overlong or define objects. Generally, you can define a function in this using this. This is. And here there is also an option of defining the property names in a dynamic way. So you can call can call functions here for defining property name.
I don't think that's a good idea.
So here, for example, in this case, prop plus x to string. If x, for example, is equal to, then this object would have a property called prop underscore 2. So property name is dynamic.
The thing here, prototype, proto, was a hack in almost other browsers. So they standardized it finally. So it exists now from years in Firefox and Chrome.
But I thought, I always heard that it is not a good way of doing it.
Because it's not standard, it doesn't work in IE.
Oh, okay.
That's complex.
Rapidly, we will have modules in JavaScript. So here we have 3 files, for example. First one, we define a function and a variable. We export both. This is a way of exporting functionality in a module. Then we import in another file. We import here, for example, everything from this library in a namespace called math. So we can this way call math sum, which would call this function, and math p, which would give access to this variable. Or we can also use this syntax. So to import just some from the library, and we don't need here if we want. If we don't define the namespace here, math, we can use the names directly as they are without. So we can either use a namespace or without a namespace, depending on. And much more, of course, there are promises, proxies, here, target template strings. This is a very powerful thing. Raw strings, actuators, generators, module loaders, symbols, and many other things. Thank you.
Promise is the simplest thing. The rest is like proxies is crazy thing.
Yeah.
Proxies.
Yeah, promises. I didn't want to talk about promises here because they look also simple, but they are, to understand their power, you need really much time, because the way how all the function calls, how they are handled, and in which order, depending on them, and you can use, for
There is
example,
the well-known state machine diagram that explains it. It's not complicated, that's all. But there is this asynchronous technique that need like a dedicated session.
Yeah.
By themselves, like callbacks, streams, promises, and events. Okay.
Thank you.
Right. Thanks.
هذا باش نقعد اقل من هكا باش
بس كنت ديرها عندك شعر
سمعني
شاب mirror. What's mirror? حط اللابس بعد عن mirror. كوشي
No, هو استدعى حاجة. That's what happened.
المهم مثل ما قالوا لي طلعت هم ما طلعوا في الموت كانوا ما تكتبوا بالصوت ده
C'est bon, ouais. C'est vrai.
le temps de l'adapter
Et voilà. Donc, c'est effectivement
بس غير اللي تنجم تبدا في تنجم تبدا من بعد ايام تلقى يستعملك في
Okay, so
انترنت اكسبلورر كله
Yeah, in the slide talk, I'm trying to give a high-level overview of what are the trends within JavaScript and what's going on within JavaScript community. So yeah, but I'm gonna start with raise your question around some numbers, yeah, that are encouraging for the language. So here, Stack Overflow, I believe everyone knows it a little bit. It's the most popular question-answer-based system for technological questions. So it's a hub for people who are asking questions and for answering. So in Stack Overflow, currently JavaScript is the second most popular language here. Yeah, this page indicates the question tagged with a certain tag. Or so here, for example, there's around 750 questions around JavaScript.
and you have jQuery just under that.
No, I'm going to talk about around that. So here in Stack Overflow, Java is the most popular language, and the second one is JavaScript. So yeah, so this was not the case 3 years ago. So here it gives you a little bit overview of the popularity of language JavaScript nowadays. So let me go ahead. So here the evolution of popularity per year. So as you can see here, JavaScript is the blue line.
Java is green.
Java is the green line, and C# is the yellow line. So back around 2000 was most popular. C# was the most popular question in Stack Overflow. Second one is Java, and the third one is JavaScript. But as you can see here, the evolution of the language. So this, for example, let's say 2014, the number of questions for JavaScript bypassed even Java. And C# has so dropped. But let me go back here. Okay. So yeah, there's an interesting thing here. jQuery is the 5th most popular language. I mean, people are asking questions about jQuery more than Python. Python with all the package with all. I mean, with iOS, people are asking questions about jQuery more than iOS, MySQL, CSS. But as you can see here, there are 550,000 questions around. Yeah, that deal a little bit with jQuery. I mean, if I remember correctly, jQuery, the number was around, I don't know now. But here the question are 500,000. So if you make a rough comparison, that's 50 questions per line of code. So, I mean,
documentation project.
Well,
That's the issue.
well, people are coupling JavaScript with jQuery. I mean, there are when people come to Stack Overflow and ask a question about JavaScript, and someone provide an answer with jQuery, nobody complains. So everyone agrees that jQuery is, everyone has jQuery. It's like a part of the language.
I've seen people put jQuery in their CVs instead of JavaScript. Yeah. I develop web applications using HTML, CSS.
That's the
jQuery.
first contact with
JavaScript. Yeah.
So the second side I'm referring to is GitHub. GitHub is by far the most popular place for open source repository. I mean, nowadays, pretty much most, I can't say all, but most open source developers are working with GitHub as a platform for hosting repository. So here in GitHub, let's say, here as the table is, you can see here the language and the rank. The rank means the number of repository created for a certain language. Which means,
CoffeeScript should be
yeah,
the same as JavaScript.
no,
It's
Languages.
no, language. I mean, for example, CoffeeScript is classified as a different language here. So, yeah,
but it's part of the.
yeah. But here we're talking about repositories that are more than 50% written. This is how. So what? Ruby was quite popular, of course, but Ruby, yeah, 2 years ago was the most popular language in GitHub. But now in 2015, as you can see, JavaScript is the first one in the round. 400,000 repository created. Second one is Java, and the third one is Ruby. Yeah, they're also interested here. Go language,
Yeah.
get excellent popular. Okay, so. And now I think everybody is. I have passion with the language. So here, as we can see, as I just said, JavaScript is getting popular, and people start to creating really large application with JavaScript. So here, there's the religious war between developer pop up. So which is typing language with dynamic language. Typing language are language where you can specify like C#, and dynamic language where the type Python and JavaScript. So, but yeah, many people see that when the code is, when you have a huge code base, a static typing system will help a lot because it will catch error in the compiling phase. So that's why many companies invest in either a new language that compiles to JavaScript or superset of language of JavaScript with some type annotation. So I'm going to start by stating TypeScript, which is the language of Microsoft that compiles to JavaScript. The main feature of this language is that it's typed. So it will during the compiling phase, it will catch a lot of the errors and typing errors and stuff like this. Which is a recent type checker created by Facebook, which is not a language that compiles to JavaScript, but you can add some type annotation to the JavaScript source code. Then you can run flow on them, and it will help you detect some errors. It's the same way. And there's the Angular 2.0. Angular 2.0, as you can, I think Angular, the version 1 is written in JavaScript. So, but Angular 2.0 is being written in AdScript. AdScript it's somehow similar to TypeScript. So the main focus, same thing, typing system, catching error, because it will help some time. Okay, so the fourth thing that I want to talk about is not like this. It's not a typing system, but it's ASM.js. It's let's say a subset of JavaScript. Is a subset of JavaScript. The purpose of it is to be run by browser and interpreted by browser in very quickly manner. So the main focus here is performance, but it's taken typing because they know what he's dealing about. Know the code he's dealing about of what type. When he knows the array is an array of strings rather than having to check what type of the array and stuff like this. When he's dealing with binary arrays, those are called binary arrays, it can improve a lot performance. So in ASM.js, you can, for example, write C++ code or C code or even JavaScript code and compile it to this ASM.js with this superset of JavaScript with subset. Okay, subset with JavaScript with much limited functionality, which allow the browser to optimize the code even faster. And the name, the name reflected. It's assembly.js. So I'm going to finish with the extensible web manifesto. So web developers, also there's a huge agreement among web developers around how we can fasten the web cycle, how we can, for example, add feature quickly, add new functionality to browser quickly, rather than now, as you can see, ECMAScript, I mean, it has been 4 years between standardization, adding feature and stuff like this. So in the browser, how it works, so web developers or companies needs new feature, so they ask browser vendor to add certain high-level feature to the API provided by the browser, like let's say the video element, and yeah, now you can include some, I think, video, audio, and there's map or something like this. So in this extensible web manifesto, it's a document created by web developer where they suggest that browser vendor like Chrome, like Firefox, should focus on the core element of the browser, which is interpreting JavaScript and rendering the page, and providing the low-level API that will allow developers exploit those low-level API and develop new high-level feature. So as you can see, so browser should provide, I mean, very low-level feature like the system calls provided by the kernel. And yeah, this would separate some of the stress of the web browser and put it on the hand of web developer, which are, as we just saw, there's a large community that are happy to take care of, to exploit this high level and provide new more interesting feature. So it's, this is the website of the extensible web manifesto. You can sign it if you want. Okay, so light and dark.
Thank you.
Okay.
It's not I'm not trying to get off the there are a number of packages. Or modules.
NPM.
NPM dépasse déjà depuis quelques mois. Le package manager qui inclut Python.
There's also some aspect of how popular is Firefox OS right now. It's an operating system for mobiles. It's using JavaScript as the main language for its graphical user interface. So people develop application using only JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. I mean, JavaScript, HTML, and CSS are becoming the typical tool for creating web interface in all the domains. So in the web, in the browser, in the mobile, and maybe in the desktop. So there's some more.
Go, Pepsi, go.
So should we take a little break, or should I continue?
Let's run it for
Oh, go ahead. كمل. موتيفي لا
أنا توجد.
Okay.
شوف حاجة أنت
Okay, so now I'm going to present this, which is a co-browsing library. So as we just saw, as I just said, web applications are getting really complex, and people start to use web application for exploiting new things. I mean, one aspect that we can see this is that people start to creating content through web application. I mean, in the past, people are used to just navigate to the web, to a certain website, to read content. In the 2000s, they can add comment and stuff like that, but they have, before, they couldn't create some contents like creating videos, like creating some photos. So those are some fields that are being exploited nowadays. So you can see now you can find some website when you can edit videos, you can create You can create some documents. You can create some presentation like the one I'm doing here. You can create photos, and yeah, the interesting thing will start to use the web for creating some content. And this particular aspect is what encouraged people to start thinking about co-browsing, which is different people collaborate to create that content. So different people, like the Google Docs, if anyone used to Google Docs or Google Presenter, different people can work on the same document, can work on the same document, many, 2, 3, 4. I mean, the big thing here is that they're collaborating to produce content. So this is what co-browsing is, collaborating. People collaborate in real time to produce content. I mean, to produce content or collaborate to navigate together. And this is personally, I see that this is the big thing of co-browsing. This is where co-browsing came in. So as I just said, co-browsing requires real-time synchronization. So you have when you typing some word, you have to see other changes reflected in your browser. So if you're, for example, let's say creating some Google document like Microsoft Word, typical Microsoft Word document, when you're typing on your machine, you see your friend, for example, or your colleague when he type in real time. So it's real time synchronization. So changes are reflected in a real time manner. Co-browsing is hard to implement. It's very hard to implement because you work on your machine, he work on his machine, and changes need to be reconciled, need to be synchronized together. I mean, this thing is very, very difficult to implement because you have your own view of the world. You have your browser, your JavaScript model, your DOM, which may be different than your colleague. So that's one thing. So why co-browsing? I just said creating complex content. So it's not like creating some videos, creating some photos, and for support. Yeah, co-browsing was used for support. So if you, for example, let's say you navigate on a company website and you're having trouble, go to some certain a part of the website or stuff. So a support man, an online support man can help you. So you said, for example, let's say they offer a button, get online help. So an online support man will guide you through what are you looking for. Okay, those are little applications that using real-time collaboration, real co-browsing, Google Docs. I think all the docs, Google Document, Google Presenter,
Sheets,
spreadsheet, all of those support collaboration. There's also GS Fiddle. If you're interested in GS Fiddle, it's a way to test your JavaScript, HTML, CSS easily and fast. They allow collaborations. For example, you can work on JavaScript while your friend work on HTML. And FlowCodeDraw is an application that lets you draw in real time. There's a Mozilla Popcorn Maker, which is a video editing software. As you can see here, all of those meet what I just said about creating some content. Okay, so now TogetherJS. TogetherJS is a library or a set tool that allows you to add collaboration feature to your website easily and quickly, let's say. So TogetherJS, you can, for example, let's say you have a certain website that you want to add some collaboration feature, you can use TogetherJS here. So yeah, I want to make a small presentation about TogetherJS to give you concretely what co-browsing means and maybe gets more concrete understanding of. Okay, so here I need to switch.
Yeah.
Okay.
Backstage stuff. You don't need to see this.
So here I'm going to drawing application where two people can draw together.
So here's the link. I'm creating a session here. So here there's the link. I'm going to send it to my friend here, Vasen, so we can see collaboration in action. Okay. Did you join?
Yep.
Okay, here you can see. You can see Vasen is here. I'm here. I'm going to change my name. Oh, there's already my name here. So as you can see here, we can work. We can draw something together. Change are reflected automatically. I'm going to draw a house. This is more like a mosque.
The cursor position is not right.
The cursor position.
I think this is because
Well, I don't know why, really.
no, I even have it not here.
Maybe
Yeah.
the connections.
Or because it's presenting and it's not the right resolution. Yeah, there's also chat here.
Okay, but I think here's your. Yeah, you can chat either. So. Hello. Let's say hello.
Yeah, they can see.
There's even here you can chat audio using WebRTC. Yeah, using
this up.
Yeah.
It's a lousy sound.
Yeah, so that's what co-browsing is. So let me go back to the presentation. Yeah.
So we need here in this example, the drawing application is just a standard JavaScript application, and then you integrate
You add
together JS, and you have collaboration.
The magic happens.
It's like someone shares his code. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to develop for sharing. You develop your application locally, and then when you integrate together JS, you get that.
Well, it depends what kind of application you have.
Not automatic.
If you have if you have a simple application, let's say an application where there's some text areas where the user can type some text and buttons, yeah, you get synchronization out of the box. And this is one of the main features of JavaScript, of TogetherJS, which is to offer form fields like checkbox, any form field, inputs, text inputs, and mouse synchronization, like the position of the cursor, like I just did, out of the box. So you just inject the libraries, you get those features for free. The second thing is the session and communication system. Like the session I created with Vasen, it's, as you can see, there's a frame here or part in the right. It gets when you include the JavaScript library, you get it automatically. So you have the session management done by TogetherJS library and the communication. So yeah, we were discussing around peer-to-peer and stuff like this. So this is the communication system. How did I communicate with Hassan here? How do people communicate together when collaborating? So because peer-to-peer is not the right term here, because client cannot communicate together. So it has to be done by certain node that route the message. So for example, when I'm moving my mouse here or drawing, the draw action will be sent to the server, and the server will route it to Hassan. Or if there's another person, it will broadcast it. So change will be broadcasted to all the listeners. The key thing here is that the server is dumb. Is anything. It doesn't know anything about your application logic. It just route message and handle the session. So that's the good part of it. So one server, you can use it for a whole range of applications. So for example, in the example, we saw I'm using the TogetherJS built, or the Mozilla, let's say to be more precise, the Mozilla server. You can use it in your application as well. It's offered for free. Okay, but the point is many different applications can use that server. That's it.
You can have also your own server.
Yeah, you can host your own server.
Okay, the last two points, the first side, I'll keep with that because that depends essentially. Are you using a framework like Angular or React or something? Because it's different with that.
Well, yeah, I'm going to get to that later on. This last point, which is the comparison of when to use TogetherJS, when to use other framework.
So because with that framework that doesn't do fancy things on the front end, that's feasible. The
That's
front-end
feasible.
synchronization. and-
That's feasible. You can synchronize between
There
participants
is no
by
issue.
just including TogetherJS.
Yeah, there is no
If-
issue with that.
But if you have complex application, you have to add little stuff. So there, okay, so I'll discuss around that later on.
Mhm, okay.
There's other things that TogetherJS offer text and audio chat, like we just saw around text. Okay, so the principles here, as I just said, the server is stateless, so it doesn't do anything. It just route message from one node to the other, and this is one TogetherJS because this is what make it very easy to inject to website and use it out of the box. So you don't have to host your own server. You don't have to develop some stuff using backend languages to host your own server. So you get stateless. You get quasi peer-to-peer communication between clients. So TogetherJS is a heavy client-side library. It doesn't involve anything. You don't have to do anything for the backend. It just relies on the client side. So also there's no persistence as a just. So it doesn't persist data. I mean, when the client quit, there's no data left on the server.
Sometimes you need persistence.
Yeah, exactly.
Some
But
kind of
the thing is, if you need persistent, it's your application, it's your role.
Yeah.
The application developer is responsible for give button to save the docs you created. You need to implement it yourself.
Yeah.
You need it even if you don't do collaboration.
Exactly.
So you can do
That's
collaboration
what
in
we
one
do
side.
usually. We implement features.
Yeah. So you do collaboration in one side and persistent in another side. And this kind of separates some concepts. Okay, there's also the other thing here around TogetherJS. The collaboration is done through event synchronization. So, for example, let's take the example we just did. So, when I draw some line or something with the screen, there is an action, there is an event that gets sent to the other users. For example, to Hassan here. For example, there's a draw in this part of the screen with the following color. If, for example, we're doing text, we're working on text areas, there's event that gets sent to Hassan that's called add text. What's the text? C or anything, or JavaScript. Okay, so it's not like, for example, when I make a change to my content, the whole content will be sent to Hassan, or a difference between the content. So it relies on the DOM. To be more precise, it relies on the DOM. It's trying to synchronize the DOM events. So if you click on a button, a click will be sent. It's not like the click will be handled by your application logic, and there's someone will check what changed in your model and send it to Hassan. It's synchronized DOM events, and that's both the advantage and disadvantage of TogetherJS.
Simpler model for sure.
Yeah, it's simpler to inject. It's simpler to utilize. But for heavy web application, it can be challenging. It's a plug and play library. You can inject it, you use it. And other good thing, it's created from an individual model. So there's a model called, for example, Curse, sensible for for handling the mouse events like click and like mouse movement. And there's other called text operation transformation, which synchronize the text. And for example, if you wanted to add your own event, so you want to create an event called draw, you can use those models. You can take advantage of them. So it's not like you have to go by a central point or it's a framework. You have to do stuff in a clear, defined way. You can use whatever model you want from the library. So to integrate together JS, you have just to add the script which is called together and called together JS. So if you want, I can show you. I can show you how it's done.
It's pretty simple. Here's a page here. Here's the source of it. So quick here. Oops. Oh. So choose one. Oops. Okay, so this is the page. I'm just injecting together JS here and adding an input text. So I'm gonna run it. I'm gonna run together JS from the console. Easy way. And that's it. You get some collaboration. I mean, I'm gonna do, this is the session. I'm gonna run another window here. Oops. Yeah, join the session, and you're using together JS. Ready. And as you can see, you get a pointer, you get form synchronization. Oops.
Right in the other one.
Okay, as you can see, okay.
Yeah.
You can see change automatically reflected in the other one. The other. I'll go back. So yeah, if you would extend the library with a new event, you just have to declare it. For example, in your application, you capture the event. Let's say, for example, drag and drop. You get the mouse click and you handle it yourself. Then sending an event with the type, which is, let's say, the identifier of the event. It's what event is. It's a mouse click. It's a text. It's a drop, like in the application we send each other draw messages, and any value we want. And to listen for a certain event, we just say together JS have on and wait on a certain message type, and the function will be triggered when the event arrives. Okay, so this is how we extend together JS libraries to handle more custom events. Like if we have some complex web application, we can extend it with this. Okay. I'm going to do a case study here for a particular module which is the operation transformation, like the one I just demoed on the screen, which is how to synchronize text, how to synchronize form feeds, how to synchronize text areas. This is the theoretical, and many science guys write a lot of papers around it. So I'm gonna show you how together JS is doing, how the model, especially the model operation transformation, is doing. So let's say user number one has the text script written already, and the base, this is identify the state, the current state. Where am I right now? So let's say it's 10. It's a random number. The other person has the same thing. So those two users are in synchronization, and this is the server that routes the message. So let's say, for example, the first user writes G in the screen, write G at the position 0. So here, you're writing G there, and the second user, in the same time, written T at the 5th position, which is here. So after the first user
see G script. The second user C script, and the two events send to each other. So it's handled by the server again. So we're here taking advantage of the server. So let's say G0 sent to the other person, G0 arrived first. The event G0 arrived first. So as the event will be broadcasted, so it will be sent to the other user and the user who did it, who's responsible for the message. When the user, when the message get back to the user who sent it, he will check. So for example here, the message G0 has the same base as it's 10. This is there's the base will be sent with it. And there's also, if he will check that this is the change rate and need to get back to the server. So he commit the message. Committing is similar to committing in version control system. So you do your change, but your change are not taken into effect until you commit them. So when you when the event get back to him, he committed and he increased the base number. So the base will be 11 and the text will still G script. In the other hand, the second user will see script and 10. But the message that he will arrive to him, it's not T5, it's G0. So he would say, I'm sending T5 and there's at the same time another message came in, so you need to reconcile. So this is called transposition. So he will check, for example, it's not the change he made, and it will have the same base. So he will know that the user made that change at the same time as this. So what he will do, he will apply the change of the user one. So it will be G script base 11. He will be like this. He will be synchronized. Then he will do something called transposition, which is making this change, let's say, adapted with the text, which is G script base 11. So here, for example, it's an easy case, but when he adapted, when he tried to produce it again, it will be T6. So here 5 is the index. So that we index 5. So T will be at index 5. But here, after this change, the event should be T6 because there's a new character inserted at the first place here. So this is what's called transposition. How to move from this state, from here to here. How to know what to do. So he will update his change T6 and send it again. So in this, while he's sending it, the message T5 arrives to both participants because there's still a message. This is T5 the event, but both of them will throw it because the base does not match.
Yeah.
The base here was 10, but with this commit the base is 11, so they will throw it. And the new change, which is T6, which has the base 11, because it was done for transposition thing, it arrived to user 1, user 2, they match it, they have the same base, and that's it. Both users will have GS script, they increase their base, and that's it. The second user also will have G script. So without operation transformation, what we'll have is, let's say, if this arrives first, we will have G script, not G script.
Yeah.
If we don't do this thing here. So that's use case to demonstrate that this is complex. Reconciliation and synchronization, the difference between the synchronization event and synchronization browser content is really, really hard and really tough.
So are they sure that the transpose will always work?
Yeah, for
I'm trying to think of cases that, conflict, that cannot transpose.
So the transpose algorithm here is quite easy. What he will do, he will check the index, so it's inferior than 5. It's less than 5.
Yeah.
So what he will do, he will shift this by the number of characters. So here, for example, if he type GA, not just GA, he will shift it to two character forward, so this will be T7. This one arrives before that one, you will shift it back. And if they arrive at the same position, so let's say T5, T5 and G5, it will be, depends here, for example, G5, G6, and there's a lot of particular content that, yeah, even, I mean, when we work on the same thing, the same exact phrase, you can't have reason how what that would be. We can't think about that clearly because it's somehow confusing.
Yeah.
But if we work on a different part of the application, then yeah, it doesn't perfectly make sense to synchronize. But yeah, the transposition is really challenging.
But yeah, also the advantage of seeing other people in real time is to not like change the same thing at the same time.
Yeah, if they change
but
the same
nobody
thing
prevents
at the
you.
same time, yeah, it's useless. So, yeah, now I'm going to difference with other tools and ideas, and they think this is the most important part of the presentation because they're showing you together GS without any context. I mean, it's useless. I mean, if you're going to use it one day, you have to compare it with existing tool, with existing ideas to have better idea of whether to use it or not. So the first form of collaboration, it's screen sharing, which means basically that one user is the master, is the authoritative, and is the master, and the other are slaves. So, for example, if I'm the masters, or you're the masters and I'm the slaves, all my change should go through you, and you accept them in order for me to see the effect. So, for example, if I type G, I don't see it automatically. It has the change has to go through you and return back to me, and I see G. I mean, screen sharing was historically was the popular thing for doing co-browsing, and the good thing about, I mean, the advantage of screen sharing, you can just send me the DOM. I mean, I send you some modification, you update your DOM, and you send me directly your DOM, difference between DOM, rather than checking each part of form screen and stuff like this, form text area. So collaboration, on the other hand, means that we all active. We all active. I have my browser, my model, my view of the world. I have my world, you have your world, but we're synchronized. So if I made to change, I see them automatically. If you make change, you see them. But you send your change to me, I send your change to you. I'm trying to reconcile. If there's any difference, if there's any conflict, we try to reconcile those conflicts, like we just did with the transport things. So collaboration is harder because each one, as I said, has its view of the world. Each one has its own model, its own DOM, its own. So we're working on different contexts.
Yeah.
So the second thing, so screen sharing, for example, can be useful for doing something like support, because with support, the user is the powerful, is the one that has the authority, not support man. The support man just guide them, maybe with the mouse, but the user is the one who taking the action. The second thing is data versus DOM action. As I said earlier, together GS do the synchronization via DOM action. If you make an action, it will be intercepted at the first layer. For example, mouse click will be sent to you, and you perform the same action on the same part of the screen. So, for example, if let's say cursor click in the part 200 pixel, 300 pixel, you do the same thing yourself. And together GS, speaking of resolution, yeah, I think together GS do pretty well with the resolution. It supports many resolution on screen, but yeah, you can. Let's say with DOM action, it's really hard because each one has its own context. I can't guarantee that what works for me, the events that works for me, works for you. If let's say if you have a page, if with the page we're trying to access here depend on the user. So if you have certain preference, let's say you have checkbox which is checked by default because in the server, I mean, your preference is that certain checkbox is checked by default. But in my case, it's not checked by default. Click on the checkbox, a click action will be sent to the second user. The second user will click, it will do the same action. But because your checkbox is checked already, it will uncheck it. While in my case, it will check it. So we're still we will always be in a consistent state. So this is the disadvantage of DOM synchronization or event synchronization. The second thing is the data synchronization. It's what Google Docs do. It's what screenshare.js, it's not screenshare, it's share.js do. It's pretty popular. Is to focus on the content. What's being changed to the content. So for example, if we're doing video editing software, you need to have a model of your videos. Like for example, when you click the save button, like you say, there's something that gets saved, and if you open the file again, you will see it. You will get back to the state. So like for example, Google Docs, you save some text, and or Microsoft Word, you save some text and you open it again and you get back to the same state. So the data synchronization is synchronization of the data itself. So the DOM event will propagate and have an effect on the data. Then you yourself, the developer, has to deduct or to deduce what has been changed to that data and send it to the other user. So you work on the data here. It's not like synchronization of event. So the synchronization of data is more reliable. But the other hand, you have to do it yourself. The application developer has to do it himself, because it depends. It's video editing software is not like Google Doc software, is not like photo editing software, and also you need to have a model. You need to have certain state savable, and when you open it again, you get back to the same exact state you were on. So that's the main difference here. Whether you just synchronize the DOM event and you get the Together JS library here, because it offers you synchronization of the DOM event real out of the box. Or the other side, when you start developing a complex application, you have to think about collaboration from the point zero, from the first step you're developing it, and you have to think about the synchronization and handle it yourself. So I see that's the main difference between Together JS and other frameworks. As I said, data is more reliable, it's more hard, it's more complex. It has to be done with greenfield, with greenfield development. The other
also data is going to be communication extensive. Rather than just sending events,
if you have to do the reconciliation yourself. So you have to implement something like diff, which you have to make something diff between contents, which is really complex.
Yeah,
I can imagine the complexity of it, and this is why not many applications of collaboration, maybe because of this.
Yeah.
The third thing is persistent for not persisting. As I said, Together JS is not persisting when the user quits. They quit. There's no footprint left over. I mean, when two users connect together, they see them 3 or 4 people. But the idea here is there's no something safe in place somewhere, like with persistent storage. I mean, with persistent storage, you have, for example, the node save each state. So for example, the advantage of this is, for example, let's suppose a new user came in 5 minutes later. How did he get the application state of the other 2 users? By having persistent data, he can just grab on the states and reproduce it.
Yeah.
So
how is it done together?
Yeah.
in Together JS, you have to do it.
If I send John the drawing thing like 5 minutes later, he won't see the.
Well, for the you have to. If for the drawing example, he will see, because there's an app init event that will be sent at the very start. If I get an app init initialization event from SN, so I know that, but I have the state. I have all all the state of the part
drawing,
where I'm
yeah.
where I'm doing the drawing. So this is a point here, because this is drawing example is counterintuitive, because it's not what Together.js is meant to be, because in Together.js an important part that you don't need to have the state. So for the drawings example, it's easy because the state is just, for example, you have a matrix where you have points and the color of it. So when someone sends you an initialization event, you just send him that matrix.
Yeah, so that's the application that does this.
Yeah, that's the application.
It's not Together.js.
Yeah, that's not Together.js.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the thing. If you have Together.js is not coupled with your application. It's meant to be a separate component. If you have to do state, if you want to implement state of the application, you have to do it yourself. So that's it.
Cool. Okay, so I think it's 30 already.
اتفضل وقتها.
لا أنا شكرا.
We have questions? Clear? Everything clear?
Nice.
Thanks.
When you mentioned the Stack Overflow,